Evening tubers, KingGrimlock back for another Grimgram, and first off, as ever, a little bit of housekeeping. Two pieces this week. Piece number one is a big up to everybody who was in the Moonbase 2 meetup on Saturday in Birmingham. You're all fantastic and lovely people, and it was great to get to know some of you more, to meet some of you for the first time, and generally just hang around with a lovely group, all of whom I now consider close friends and acquaintances and just general top people. And piece number two is to Timey-Wimey, the Time Lord, Matt Clark. Thank you very much, sir, for getting to 700 subscribers. Congratulations, man. It's a big thing, it's a massive thing, and you deserve it. You fully deserve it. You're a top bloke, and you do top work, even if you could do with doing a few more reviews. But then again, I do just reviews, and I don't get as many subs as you do, and you don't do any reviews and get subs, so go figure, eh? Anyway, Timey, congratulations, mate. 700, it's nothing to be sniffed at. Well done. On to today's figure. Here we have, for our Grimgram delectation, my first ever movie toy. Yes, it's a live-action movie toy. But Grimmy, you hate the movies. No, I don't hate the movies. I don't hate the movieverse. I just dislike the toys and the films. The comics are good. Some of the comics are good. Anyway, this is from the first live-action movie, and as you can probably tell straight off, anyone who knows Transformers, this isn't a movie toy. This is a Cybertron toy. This is a repaint of Cybertron Red Alert into Decepticon Crankcase. Now, anyone remember that Crankcase, well, that's the giveaway, it's a bloody Cybertron toy, isn't it? Anyone remember Crankcase in Generation 1 was a Triggercon, and you pressed a little button on his back, and two guns shot up. So you never guess what the key does. Check that out. If I could slow-mo the vid, I would. Awesome. Yeah, so basically he has the same gimmick as he has in Generation 1. What an awesome thing for the toy to have. These were the last of the first movie deluxes to be released. They did some repaints of Cybertron toys, and I'm going to leave that out. Cybertron toys and Classics toys, into figures that realistically would have fitted quite easily into the Classics line. You had a redeco of Cybertron Hotshot into Getaway, even though I think it's called Breakaway. This guy's Crankcase. You had a repaint of anyway, there was a Big Daddy. There was Classics Mirage got redone as Fracture, aka Crasher from the GoBots. It was a nice little line, actually. There was a line of 5 or 6. There was Grindcore, Jolt, Dive Bomb. But there's 3 or 4 of them that really stuck out as being updates of the Generation 1 toys, and this being one of them. The first thing you notice is he is a truck of some description. It's Hazmat Operations, a lovely little couple of biohazard symbols, and the con symbol at the bottom there. Very nice. You also see the con symbol through the windscreen. Overall, as a little vehicle, it's very nice. You know, we have a rolling thing. It is a deluxe class. It is knocking on the door of probably, what, 5-6 years old now, the mould, if not a little bit more. Underneath, it's fairly competent. In fact, you can't really tell where a robot's going to come from, and that is one of the highlights of this figure. Anyone who owns it, or any versions of it, will know that the transformation is quite spectacular. Through the windscreen, you do have a little bit of a hand, and you do have a gun in there. You can just about make that out. And, yeah, that is his eyes. He has got GoBot syndrome going on. I love it. I absolutely adore this toy. I love the colour scheme. I love the fact that they bothered to do Crankcase. The Trigger Cons were always great little toys. Silly, pointless, kind of rubbish, fell apart, but they were great. You know, that was some of the charms of Generation 1, is that they weren't massively detailed or anything. They just had a little gimmick. And this guy is massively detailed. He's got lovely detailing, painted detailing in places. He's missing quite a lot of paint applications around the lights on the front, around the bumper, the little intakes there. But overall, yeah, quite a bit around the back as well. There's a lot of lovely sculpted detailing that hasn't been looked after. One of the biggest highlights for this, for me, is that the key port isn't massive. It isn't hanging off. It isn't taking up most of the toy. You know, you can put the key in, it pops stuff out, and then you don't really notice. You know, there's a gap in the back of your toy, but it's not too bad. And overall, it's a solid piece. And for a deluxe class figure, it's actually a good size, a good feel, a good weight. I like it. I really like it. But what I like even more is the bot mode. And one of the first things you'll notice is that live action movie Crankcase is quite short for a deluxe figure. He's quite squat, he's very bulky, he's very chunky. But, you know, it's quite diminutive. Not much bigger, really, than Universe Hound, and we all know that he was a bit of a short one as well, really. But, for a bot mode, he's exceptionally well done. Everything's filled in, there's no massive gaps. Yeah, you got a little bit of back kibble there from the... let's bring that back on camera. The back kibble there from the transformation from the back of the car. But, I mean, the legs are the things that impress me most. You know, you'll notice often you've got 2 feet, or 2 front to, you know, this is both ends. You know, you've got a wheel there and a wheel in there. This is the front and the back of the car combined. They fold down in the middle, wheels flip over, bits come out, and you end up with these massive chunky legs. I mean, it's a fantastic bit of design work, fantastic bit of engineering. It's one thing the Cybertron line really had in spades with some great designs. It had some poor ones as well, but for the most part, brilliant. You know, little detail, like if you look, they've got a double joint in the door, you know, purely to give it that little bit of extra space for when it transforms. It's that sort of detail that you know, you really hope that all deluxes have nowadays, because, you know, you pay quite a bit of money for a deluxe now, and that detail really adds to it. I mean, overall, he's a very competent robot mode. He's stocky, he's chunky. I don't like that they didn't remold that into a hand. You know, Crankcase never had a gun or a laser, you know, and also the head mould is so quite clearly red alert. But it works quite well as the con because not many people remember him, and as long as the colour scheme's right and as long as he's got the Trigger Con gimmick, then most people are happy. And of course, he does have said Trigger Con gimmick, if I can have said Trigger Con gimmick. Hope you got that, because I ain't putting them back in. That's the biggest downside of this toy, is that putting those back in are an absolute nightmare, complete ball ache. They're not as noticeable, the little cannons over the shoulders in this mode, unfortunately. But you still got that Trigger Con thing, you know, the whole Trigger Cons. The Trigger Cons were awesome. If I was going to go and collect G1, it'd be all those weird little lines that they did towards the end of it. Yeah, fantastic. Oh, just more sculpted detail, just, you know, sculpted detail on the arms, just not picked out. What else can I say about this guy? He does come with a couple of other accessories, which I've never quite understood the point of. It makes more sense as Red Alert than he does as Crankcase. He comes with a little claw in a colour that doesn't really... Yeah. And little hammer, if you ever want to go hammering, which... Yeah. Not really important things. You're doing it for the toy. Would I recommend picking him up? Of course, I absolutely adore him. I think he's fantastic. I think he's well made. I think he's well designed. I think... I'm going to try and tilt that camera out. You know, I think he's brilliant. Pick up any of the colour schemes, really. He was done as Cannonball, Cybertron Cannonball, Cybertron Decepticon Cannonball in Cybertron, as well as Red Alert, and as well as Crankcase. If you want the Crankcase himself, they are fairly hard to get hold of now because they were originally Walmart exclusives in the US, Asda exclusives in the UK, and they were an exceptionally limited release. You know, he's not too bad. He's probably no more expensive than a regular deluxe. Some of his other pack mates are quite difficult to find now. Oh yeah, these bits live in there. Nice. Overall, I like him. He's a movie toy, and I like him, so that's saying something. Yeah, he's not a movie toy, he's a Cybertron stroke classic toy. But, you know, if you want a Decepticon Trigger Con that's been brought up to date, Crankcase is your man.